Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranam, Hare Krishna, dear devotees, Jai Shri Prabhupada. Okay, we will start with our prayer, Mangalacharan and prayer, and then reading. Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuttapada Kamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitam Sha Namam Vishnupadaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pashyatade Shatarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaur Bhaktavrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. Okay, so we'll continue with our prayers. Raji Prasiddham Navanita Charam Vaishnav Bilumangal Thakur Charashtakam. Anybody would like to sing today? Amaresh Prabhu, you want to try? It's been a while.
Yeah, sure, Prabhu.
You want to try? Sure. Yeah, I posted the link. Also, let me share the screen and then we'll get started. Yeah. Yeah, go ahead, Prabhu.
व्रजे प्रसिद्धं नवनीतचारं गोपाङ्गनं च दुकुलं चारम् अनेकजन्मार्जितपापचारं चौराग्रगण्यं पुरुषं नमामि श्रीराधिकाया हृदयस्य चौरं नवाम्बुदास्यामलकान्तिचारम् पदाश्रितानां च समस्तचौरं चौराग्रगण्यां पुरुषां नमामि अकिञ्चनीकृत्य पदश्रीतमाया करोति वेक्षं पथिकेहहीनं केनापि याहो भीषणचोरायित्कृ दृष्टा श्रुतो वा न जगत्रेऽपि यदीयनामापि हरते अशेषं गिरिप्रसारान् अपि पापराशिन् आश्चर्यरूपो ननु चोरयित्कृ दृष्टा श्रुतो वा न माया कदापि दानं च मानं च तथेन्द्रियाणि प्राणामश्च कृत्वा मम सर्वमिवं पलयासि कुत्रात् धृतदेयचौरा त्वं भक्तिदाम्नासि मया निरुधाः चिन्ताशिखोरं यमपाशबन्धं विनात्सि भीमं भवपाशबन्धं चिन्तासि सर्वस्व समस्तबन्धं नैवत्मानो भक्त कृतं तु बन्धं मनमानसे तामसि राशि घोरे कराग्रे दुःख माये निबद्ध लभस्व हे चोर हरे चिराय स्वचारदोषो चितमेव दण्डम् कराग्रे वास सदा हृदय मध्ये मद्भक्तिपाश दृढबन्धना निश्चलसान् त्वं कृष्ण हे प्रलयकोटिसतान्तरेऽपि सर्वस्वचर हृदयन्नाहि मोक्षम् हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे. जय श्री कृष्ण. जय गुरुदेव.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Amresh Prabhu,
Thank you.
for the wonderful recitation. Okay, anybody would like to read the translation?
I can read Prabhuji.
Yes, Aarti Mataji. Thank you.
Translation. I offer my respectful obeisances to that foremost of thieves, who is famous in Vraja as the butter thief, and he who steals the gopis' clothes, and who, for those who take shelter of him, steals the sins which have accrued over many lifetimes. I offer my respectful obeisances to the foremost of the thieves, who steals Srimati Radhika's heart, who steals the dark luster of a fresh rain cloud, and who steals all the sins and sufferings of those who take shelter of his feet. He turns his surrendered devotees into paupers and wandering homeless beggar. Alas, such a fearsome thief has never been seen or heard of, heard of in all the three worlds. Mere utterance of his name purges one of a mountain of sins. Such an astonishingly wonderful thief I have never seen or heard of anywhere. O thief, having stolen my wealth, my honor, my senses, my life, and my everything, where can you run to? I have caught you with the rope of my devotion. You cut the terrible noose of Yamraj. You sever the dreadful noose of material existence. And you slash everyone's material bondage. But you are unable to cut the knot fastened by your own loving devotees. O stealer of my everything, O thief, today I have imprisoned you in the miserable prison house of my heart, which is very fearful due to the terrible darkness of my ignorance, and there for a very long time you will remain, receiving appropriate punishment for your crime of thievery. O Krishna, thief of my everything, the noose of my devotion remaining forever tight, you will continue to reside in the prison house of my heart because I will not release you for millions of eons. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Aarti Mataji. Okay, thank you. Yes, I like here. This says, having stolen my wealth, my honor, my senses, my life, my everything, where can you run to? I've caught you with the rope of my devotion. So, like that, Prabhupada's disciples we see yesterday from Prabhupada Lilamrit, they've left everything, right? Their homes. We saw the examples of Veera Swami Maharaj, Shyamasundar Prabhu, they're reflecting on how their families were so wealthy, but their Raj Maharaj's sisters had run away. Even though his father was such a wealthy person, there was always trouble at home. Shyamasundar Prabhu was saying that his father was so wealthy, yet he had to take sleeping pills. Right? But Prabhupada was preaching the real essence of spiritual life in those pandals in India, in Bombay, Amritsar, and he was showing the real life examples, like the living testimony of what Krishna consciousness does, with the purity that it brings. So that is because these pure disciples of Prabhupada have caught Krishna with the rope of their devotion. Many articles in the newspaper were sharing that how they were more pure and more guileless than even the Brahmanas and the Pandits in Mathura. Right? So that is the purity. Prabhupada says this is not faddism. It's like nobody can give up all these four irreligious practices of meat eating, intoxication, gambling, and illicit relationships. And nobody can wake up at 4 a.m. for how many 5 years, he says, they have been practicing so sincerely. So that is not sentimentalism or faddism. So that is the true wealth that they have acquired by practicing and following their Guru Maharaj, Srila Prabhupada. Okay, so let's continue chapter 32. So Prabhupada is currently in Amritsar, and he was visiting this gentleman's house who was a Kshatriya, and now he has Mr. Singh. He has become the first life member in Amritsar. So let's see, we'll continue from here. Although the devotees requested Prabhupada to take fewer engagements, he would not slow down. It was his disciples, he said, who were finding the pace difficult. One night, after the 8th and final engagement of the day, Prabhupada returned to his room just a little before midnight. For the devotees, the day had begun exhausting, and they were eager to get to bed as soon as possible. Noticing Prabhupada's light still on, one of them went to his window. Prabhupada was sitting at his desk, leaning back against the wall, listening to a tape recording of one of the talks he had given that day. One afternoon, Prabhupada and his disciples went to see the famous Golden Temple of the Sikhs. A guide took them around and answered Prabhupada's questions. Sikh businessmen, the guide explained, maintained the temple and its expenses. The Sikhs pride themselves in the assertion that no one in Amritsar goes hungry, and they daily feed dal and chapatis to 10,000 people. This interested Prabhupada, and he observed their massive operation. He watched the group of men rolling chapatis, flipping them deftly through the air onto a giant griddle, while other men, using long paddles, turned the chapatis, held them briefly over the hot coals, and then placed them in stacks. This is how to distribute prasadam, Prabhupada said. Prabhupada signed the guest book, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami. Under religion, he wrote, Krishnaite. And under comments, he wrote, very spiritual. Prabhupada is very... Okay. Prabhupada and his disciples visited Ramatirtha Sarovar, the lake where in a bygone age the great sage Valmiki had his ashrama. The terrain surrounding Ramatirtha Sarovar was dry and rocky, and vegetation was sparse. As they stopped at the beautiful bathing ghat, its steps leading down into the lake, the devotees were in a jubilant mood, happy to be on a field trip with their transcendental father and teacher. The peaceful lake and the beautiful ghat seemed an ideal setting for being with Srila Prabhupada. The devotees, who knew little of Lord Ram, listened intently as Prabhupada began to tell some of the pastimes of the Supreme Personality of Godhead in his incarnation of Lord Ramachandra. During the last days of his earthly pastimes, Prabhupada said, Rama banished Sita, his wife and eternal consort. Pregnant and alone, Sita sought shelter at the ashram of Valmiki, where she soon gave birth to a son, Lava. Valmiki created another son for Sita from straw and named him Kusha. When Sita learned that Rama was sending a challenge horse throughout the world, she instructed her sons to catch the horse. In this way, she concluded they would capture their father and bring him before her. Unfortunately, while the boys were away on their mission, they learned that Lord Ramchandra had departed from the world. Grief-stricken, they returned to Valmiki. To mitigate the boys' anguish of separation, Valmiki sang to them Ramayana, the transcendental narrative of Lord Rama's activities. One day, as Sita was out walking, the ground opened before her and she returned into the earth from which she had appeared. These events, Prabhupada explained as he stood with his followers by the Ramatirtha Sarovar, had happened no less than 800,000 years ago. For the devotees, it was as if Prabhupada had opened a new door to the spiritual world. The organizers of the Vedanta Sammelan repeatedly asked Prabhupada and his party to play a larger part in the Pandal program. The scheduled discourses were mostly on Mayavadi philosophy. God is impersonal. All religious paths are equal and lead to Supreme One. All is one, we are all God. Such dry speculations could not hold the public's attention, and the Sammelan organizers daily requested the devotees to hold Kirtan in the Pandal. But with so much other preaching, Prabhupada preferred holding programs of his own in private homes around the city. A devotee asked Prabhupada about a Mayavadi slogan he saw posted, Tat Tvam Asi, with the English translation underneath, You are that too. This was a favorite saying of the impersonalists, who imagined that the living entity is God. Prabhupada said. He explained elaborately the distinction between God and the living entity and told how God, when he appears, displays certain unmistakable characteristics that identify him as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. These yogis will just talk and talk Vedanta, Prabhupada said. It is simply mental speculation, and they never come to any conclusion. They will go on speculating for years and lifetimes, but we will realize God simply by eating. And from the plate of prasadam before him, he took a sweet and popped it into his mouth. In the midst of his activities in Amritsar, Prabhupada continued to think of his spiritual children in various places throughout the world, and he regularly wrote them. To the devotees in Calcutta, he wrote, I am very much anxious to hear what you are doing there, and if you have made any life members by this time. He asked them to register ISKCON with the government and try to establish a permanent center there. To his disciples in Bombay, he wrote, I am very anxious to know your situation, whether you have removed to the Rama temple or where you are stationed now. To Karandhara in Los Angeles, he wrote, I hope everything is going on well with you in our Los Angeles World Headquarters. Please send me a report of your general activities and also your governing body commission activities. Please offer my blessings to all the members of our temples. How is the deity worship being carried on? Replying to Upendra in the Fiji Islands. Regarding worship of demigods, the whole Hindu society is absorbed in this business. So unless our preaching work is very vigorous, it is very difficult to stop them. And to Bhavananda in New York. Please conduct the Sankirtan program regularly, and that will give me great pleasure. Regarding our temple in Brooklyn, Krishna has given you a very good chance to serve him. October 30th, 1970. After 10 days in Amritsar, Prabhupada was on the train heading back to Bombay. He rode in a small first-class apartment with Guru Das, while the rest of his disciples rode in another part of the train. Prabhupada's car, being close to the locomotive, caught soot from the engine's smokestack, until he was soon flecked from head to foot with small black particles. Yamuna. We were traveling between Amritsar and Delhi, and I decided to go see how Srila Prabhupada was doing, if there was anything he wanted, because sometimes when the train stopped, he would ask for a devotee to purchase fresh fruit and other things from the vendors on the train platform. So Kaushalya and I made our way through several cars to Prabhupada's first-class compartment. He was lying back on the several pillows with one knee up, looking like a monarch. He had a beautiful smile on his face. We paid our obeisances, and Srila Prabhupada looked at us with a twinkle in his eye. Is there anything hot to eat? He asked. What do you mean? I said. Do you want me to get your lunch, Srila Prabhupada? No, he said. Not that. Some rice, some hot rice. I said, what do you mean, Srila Prabhupada? From the train? He said, well, no. If you can make me some hot rice. I said I would. I had no idea how I was going to prepare hot rice for Srila Prabhupada, but Kaushalya and I found our way to the kitchen. Nobody was there, only two men dressed in black, turmeric-stained shorts, standing over the coal stove, smoking cigarettes. I didn't know how to speak Hindi, but I said the best I could. My Guru Maharaj wants some chawal, some hot rice. The men laughed at us as if we were crazy, and so I thought we had better find someone who would give us permission. But when we found the manager of the restaurant, he said, no, impossible. You can't cook in the kitchen. I said, I'm sorry, this is for my Guru Maharaj. There is no question of choice. I have said to him that I will fix rice, and I have to fulfill this. But again he said, no, it is impossible. I went and found the conductor of the train and explained the situation to him. If I can't do this for my spiritual master, I said, then I might as well jump off the train. The conductor took us very seriously and said, of course, you can fix whatever you like in the kitchen. So he brought us back to the kitchen and told the head of the kitchen as well as the head of the restaurant that he was giving us permission. The coal stove was gigantic and I was completely unfamiliar with it. All sorts of aluminium pots and dishes were hanging around the kitchen. We cleaned out one of the pots as best as we could, boiled the water and put it in the chawal. We prepared a gigantic platter of very hot rice with butter, fresh lemon, salt and pepper and carried it through the train to Prabhupada's compartment. Here's your rice, Srila Prabhupada. As I said as we entered, and his eyes lit up and opened wide. He gave a huge grin. Oh my goodness, oh my goddess of fortune have come, he said. They have brought me my rice. Thank you very much. This is just what I wanted. He ate so much from this huge plate. He took a little kachori and puri with it and a little pickle. He was very pleased. That night, the train pulled into the New Delhi station with its scurrying crowds of passengers, hawking vendors, refreshment counters, newsstands, beggars and coolies in their dingy red jackets. The stopover would be 20 minutes. Suddenly, a man appeared in Prabhupada's compartment, identifying himself as D.D. Gupta. Although Prabhupada had not met him before, they had corresponded. He was a Delhi man, not especially influential or wealthy, but he wanted to help. Offering Prabhupada a box of sweets, he invited him to stay in Delhi. Prabhupada, however, already had other plans and had even wired ahead to notify the devotees in Bombay of his arrival. Prabhupada looked at Guru Das, who was feeling happy and especially blessed to have this intimate contact with the spiritual master. 12 hours they had spent in the same compartment, eating together, talking together. Just minutes before, Prabhupada had been stressing the importance of farming and explaining how the scarcity of food was due to mismanagement, not to lack of rain or arable land. Guru Das was happy, and he was looking forward to the next leg of the journey with Srila Prabhupada, anticipating the scenery and his return to Bombay. This man is inviting us, Prabhupada said. Get down and see what you can do. Get down? There was hardly time to ask questions or discuss what to do in Delhi. The train would be leaving immediately. Guru Das said he would stay, but he would need help. He and Prabhupada agreed on a team. Yamuna, Guru Das's wife, Giriraj, Durlabha, Bruce and Gopal. Guru Das ran to tell his wife and the brahmacharis the news. The devotees had little trouble picking up their light bags and getting off the train, but they felt sad to be leaving Srila Prabhupada. As the train pulled away, they offered obeisances outside Prabhupada's window and waved to him, praying for his mercy. This was an austerity, perhaps a tiny drop of what Prabhupada had gone through when he had first arrived in America. Bombay, November 1970. For the next month, Prabhupada and his disciples stayed at Manohar Lal Agarwal's Sitaram temple in Chembur. Actually, it was Mr. Agarwal's residence, but since he maintained the worship of Sitaram deities, he called his home Ram Sharanam, under the shelter of Lord Ram. Prabhupada occupied one room and his disciples 2 other rooms, with access to a kitchen and bath. The Sitaram temple and suburban neighborhood provided a peaceful atmosphere, and Prabhupada returned to a concentrated work on Srimad Bhagavatam, corresponding with his ISKCON centers around the world, and looking after the small group of disciples who were with him. He had great hope Krishna would provide a way for ISKCON to become well established in India. We are just now receiving great publicity, and it is reported that Bombay has now got its atmosphere filled with Krishna consciousness. It is a fact, and the important members of the Bombay community are appreciating our movement. For the present, I am more prominent than all Swamis. People are appreciating. What are these Swamis? They cannot go outside. There is a Bengali saying that a jackal is king in a small forest. The story is that a jackal became king in the forest by fooling the other animals for some time, but he remained always a jackal, and his ruse was at last exposed. Although Mr. Agarwal was honored that Prabhupada had accepted his invitation and was now living as his guest, Prabhupada knew that the situation would ultimately prove inconvenient for everyone involved. To open one's home to a dozen guests and feed them daily was a strain, even for a wealthy man, and for the devotees to live in those tiny quarters under the already trying conditions of irregular hours, frequent sickness, and tropical heat was not easy. The solution, of course, was for the devotees to get their own place, an ISKCON center in Bombay. As a sannyasi, Prabhupada was prepared to stay anywhere, moving as often as necessary, accepting alms. He had lived that way for years before going to America, but now he had 20 spiritual children to support in India, and more on the way. They were not mature. He wanted them near him so that they could observe how he did things and imbibe the spirit of preaching in India. When a Hindu organization in downtown Bombay requested a few devotees to attend a 3-day program, Prabhupada approved. But when the program was over and the leaders of the organization invited the devotees to stay on indefinitely, Prabhupada said, no. They will simply eat and sleep. Better for them to stay with him at crowded Ram Sharanam. Mrs. Sumati Morarji, the wealthy director of Scindia Steamship Lines, had financed the printing of the 3rd volume of Prabhupada's Srimad Bhagavatam in 1964, and in 1965 she had provided him free passage to America. Now she invited Prabhupada to speak at Scindia House near Juhu Beach. Seated on stage, Prabhupada and Sumati Morarji reminisced, celebrating Prabhupada's success. I did not think you would come back alive, Mrs. Morarji said, but I am so much pleased to see you. No longer was Prabhupada the poor sadhu Mrs. Morarji had met 6 years ago. He was a success, and Sumati Morarji and her staff and friends were happy to hear about the Krishna consciousness movement in the West. Before Prabhupada's lecture, Tamal Krishna formally introduced him to the audience. Srila Prabhupada left for the West 5 years ago from this city. He had almost no money. He went to New York, where he chanted Hare Krishna in a park, underneath a tree. Soon he opened a temple, where he continued his chanting and held classes on Vedic philosophy. Many people came, and gradually he opened new centers. San Francisco, Montreal, Boston, and so on. Now he has many devotees and over 40 temples. In each temple, there is a full-scale program of Sankirtan, deity worship, and Prasadam distribution. India has sent many ambassadors and ministers to the West, but none of them can say that he made the Americans give up eating meat, fish, and eggs, and got them to chant Hare Krishna. Everyone is indebted to Srila Prabhupada. because he came to relieve the suffering of all the fallen souls. Prabhupada sang 3 verses from the Brahma Samhita and invited the audience to join in the chorus. Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami. After speaking for half an hour, he accepted prasadam with Sumati Morarji and honored guests and dignitaries. He met Dr. C. Bali and his wife, the famous dancer and movie actress Vaijayanti Mala. He spoke only briefly with them and they became life members of ISKCON. Vaijayanti Mala. Swami Prabhupada made his preaching so simple that even a layperson would understand what our great philosophy and our great teachings meant. Not only was he propagating the great culture of our Lord Krishna, but he was making the people of other parts of the world really understand its meaning and its significance. By his simple and yet very great teachings of Krishna, he took this message so far and so wide that it's really a marvel that a person single-handedly could do so much. He not only preached and just talked about the whole thing, but he also established so many centers in so many parts of the world. This is really amazing that he could do it in spite of all difficulties. But his perseverance and his persistence, I think, kept him on. The public sensation of Prabhupada's disciples chanting in the streets of Bombay and at the Sadhu Samaj had died down. The regular news coverage had stopped. Still, Prabhupada was sought after by many important people in Bombay. His accomplishments after 5 years in America commanded the esteem and attention of intelligent Indians, and daily he received respectable visitors who accepted him as the authority on Krishna consciousness. Okay, so I think I'll pause here and we'll continue from here tomorrow. Hari Bol, Hari Krishna. Yeah, again, so a lot of nice things. Just the spirit of Prabhupada's disciples, Yamuna Mataji, and we saw Prabhupada singing Govindam Adipurusham, and she is well known all over the world because of her singing of Govindam Adipurusham, the morning Shringara Arti prayers that we sing in all ISKCON temples. And initially when she recorded and sent that from London, Prabhupada had tears in his eyes as he was listening to that, and we see how much of determination, how much it is like Guru ne keh diya. So like when Guru says, it is like line made in stone. He said, I want chawal rice, and she goes all the way to make the rice for him in the train. And despite people mocking her, and then the manager refusing her, she tries to go to the conductor, right? So how much of sincere, and you can see like the simplicity and this firm determination to serve Guru Maharaj. She says, I will jump off the train if I cannot fulfill my words to my spiritual master, my vows. So that is just, she said, it is not even a vow she took in front of a yagya or in front of deities, but she said something to her Guru Maharaj and she wants to fulfill it, right? So that is how much they really felt in their heart, or how much they were attached to Srila Prabhupada in their heart. So one simple thing, shows us their firm faith and firm attachment to their Guru. So yeah, there's so much to learn from, like I said, from these early disciples of Srila Prabhupada. They gave up everything, their family, their friends, their wealth, and they surrendered their lives for him. And they learned so much from him, and he reciprocated with them as their eternal father. Like that book of Malati Mataji, Bond of Love between the daughters of Srila Prabhupada. It's very inspiring. And yes, Prabhupada continues to defy all the wrong teachings of the Mayavadi philosophy. And Hindus, like you were saying, are just caught up in all this forms of different deity worships, getting confused or creating confusion for themselves. And the Tat Tvamasi, I remember when I was in my postgraduate, I was doing my MBA in IIM Bangalore, and I remember one of my professors, that time I was not in Krishna consciousness, and he gave me that book, Tat Tvamasi, I'm that. Still remember reading that book, and at least it connected me to spirituality in some form or fashion. I still go back to that course. I remember taking a course with my professor in IIM, and he was and I remember writing an essay, and I just felt that came naturally, because that he was spiritually inclined for sure, but maybe on the wrong path. But anyway, like Krishna says, whoever is on this path, eventually, if they're sincere, they'll come to me, right? So maybe he was on the path of Jnana Yoga, and eventually he may come to the path of Bhakti Yoga. But he was very, very sincere and simple person. I remember him still. And somehow I when I look back on my life, I feel like, because that, like I growing up, there was always spirituality in my house, but somehow when you go into college and all, you kind of lose your path for some time. And when I was doing my postgrad, and when that professor came into my life, it just felt like, somehow that spark again reignited. And then of course Krishna guides. So, but yeah, when we were reading that, I just remembered that instance, because I still feel that there was something that was lacking, and that particular connection brought it all back. And yeah, a lot of things else that happened today. Very nice. Prabhupada is also teaching them by his example that how he lived his life when he came to America, and now they could actually feel and they could see, and how he was true to his words and true to his endeavors even here in India. Even though people knew him as Swami, still he was ready to take on all kinds of difficulties, and they were just following in the footsteps of their Guru. Okay, anybody else would like to share anything? Meenu Mataji, anything you'd like to share? I've not heard your voice for some time.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna. Yes.
Yes, that's the part where I'm sorry, I was doing some other services, in preparation for Janmashtami. It's been a kind of very busy weekend for me, so haven't fully heard the Leela Amrit this morning and last couple of days. But yes, I did hear the part about Devi going and making the rice, and it just reminded me how Srila Prabhupada went all the way. I mean, everything is formed, is formed because of a mere instruction, a single line instruction from his Guru Maharaj, and how Yamuna Devi replicated that in her own way, and what all we need to do to follow our Guru Maharaj's instructions. That's what I was thinking this morning, that how can I or anybody else, anybody who's in Krishna consciousness or ISKCON, can serve our Guru Maharaj by serving other devotees or maybe serving the congregation in any which way that we can. So that's the thought. That's my takeaway from this morning. Thank you.
Yes. Thank you for sharing. Yeah, like we said, the Navada Bhakti, there are 9 limbs of Bhakti, and of course there are 64 that Rupa Goswami gives in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. So these are different flavors, right? So sometimes when we are reading, somebody likes to read, somebody likes to chant, somebody likes to serve, somebody likes to cook, right? So there are different limbs of Bhakti, and we can serve the devotees, we can serve as Guru, we can serve Krishna through these different limbs. If we are bored after 2 hours of chanting, and we can stand up, we can dance, we can do kirtan, and then after that we can cook, or we can perform arati, right? Whatever. So there are different limbs, and so we can serve the Lord in any of these different ways. But again, like the purity, like we've been talking about, like Prabhupada has been teaching them, all these sincere disciples, they have been performing Mangala Arati with Srila Prabhupada in the morning. Their sadhana has been so strong because they have been with Srila Prabhupada so closely, watching him, following him, right? Even at that age, when he is doing it, imagine what these 20-30-year-olds would be thinking. The same thing as what we are thinking now, right? If a 75-year-old man can do this, why can't I? That is what an acharya does by his own example. He walks the talk. So that is certainly the first and foremost thing. Yeah, our sadhana, our practices should be very, 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 very regulated, very concentrated. Like Prabhupada was saying here also, he was very concentrated in his work, not diluted. So, but yeah, with that we get the power, and then with that we can actually perform all these different limbs of bhakti very nicely. Thank you, Meenu Mataji. Okay, anybody else would like to share anything?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji, Danvat Pranam, sir.
Hare Krishna.
Yes, Prabhu. Wish you happy all tomorrow's in advance. Happy Janmashtami, Prabhuji. That's what I'm.
Hare
Yeah.
Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Just I wanted to tell you, those people, those devotees were so dedicated, the Americans. So it shows my realization that in case if they had not so very determined, so very dedicated, so much loving towards the Guru, we might have not had so much of love towards our Guru, spiritual master Prabhuji. That is what I felt. How much they sacrificed and they took it so seriously. That the Guru is the main, just like God, and they had served them morning till night, and that was the one thing I realized, that the Americans, they treated Swamiji just like God, and they tell in Sanskrit, no, like Guru Maharaj's words are Vedavakya. So yeah, so they had to taken it so seriously, and this is an example how we had to follow. They showed us the path how we have to serve the Guru. That's what Prabhuji, my realizing that. Hare Krishna. She was ready to sacrifice that life also. So see, this shows how much love and how much Guru Bhakti she had.
Yes. Yeah, this is what the whole point is. When we read this, all these things, it gives us so much of inspiration, Mataji. Yes, that we are on the right path, and we can take so much inspiration from just these sincere souls who are some of them, or many of them, are still amidst us, around us in different parts of the world. So before they leave this world, it's good that we take association, even physically. But yeah, by reading these book of Srila Prabhupada Leelamrit, that gives us their Vani association also. Thank you, and thank you for the wishes. Devotees always come in advance before the Lord comes, so thank you for giving us the wishes of Janmashtami one day in advance. Hare Krishna. Thank you, Mataji. Alright, thank you, dear devotees, for your kind association. Let's end with Vaishnava Pranam prayers. Vanchakalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhya eva cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Anantakoti Vaishnavrinda ki jai. Jagadguru Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Nitai Gaur Premanande. Hari Hari Bol. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.